Blood rain, Kerala, India, 2001. In 2001, the Indian state of Kerala became the center of one of the strangest meteorological events ever recorded, weeks of rain that fell not clear, but deep blood red. Streets, rooftops, clothing lines, and entire villages were painted crimson. At first, locals interpreted the phenomenon as a sign of divine anger or an omen of a coming disaster. News spread rapidly, and fear swept across the region. The idea that the sky itself was bleeding became a terrifying symbol of the unknown. Scientists initially suspected that desert dust from distant regions might have colored the rain. But chemical analyses ruled this out. The water wasn't filled with sand or iron oxide. Instead, researchers discovered microscopic particles, cells that resembled spores from a type of red algae. The theory suggested that these spores somehow filled the atmosphere, mixed with rain clouds, and fell back to Earth as crimson rainfall. But the deeper the investigation went, the stranger the event became. For the algae theory to be correct, an enormous quantity of spores would have needed to rise into the upper atmosphere simultaneously. Yet no volcano, storm, or natural mechanism was present that could have launched such massive biological material into the sky. Even more perplexing was the geographic pattern. The red rain fell only in specific clusters and continued for nearly 2 months, something no known biological bloom could sustain. Alternative theories emerged. Some proposed meteor fragmentation as a cause, suggesting that extraterrestrial microorganisms entered the atmosphere after a small comet disintegrated, a concept connected to the panspermia hypothesis. But this idea never gained mainstream acceptance, as no fragments were found. What remains undeniable is the psychological impact. Villagers described seeing their white clothes stained a vivid scarlet. Wells turned red. Small animals seemed confused, and some refused to drink the water. The phenomenon created a collective memory that persists to this day, with many believing the event was supernatural, while others still suspect an undiscovered atmospheric or biological mechanism. More than 2 decades later, scientists admit they still cannot fully explain why the rain lasted so long, why it targeted only narrow regions, or how such massive amounts of spores, if they truly were spores, entered the clouds. Kerala's blood rain stands as one of Earth's most unsettling natural mysteries, defying complete scientific closure and leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. Fire tornado, Japan, 1923. A fire tornado, or fire whirl, is one of nature's most terrifying and least understood phenomena, a swirling vortex of flames that forms when intense heat meets a chaotic interplay of wind and rising air. Unlike normal tornadoes, these spinning infernos can reach temperatures hotter than volcanic lava and move unpredictably, consuming everything in their path. Among all known fire tornadoes in history, none is as catastrophic or haunting as the one that struck Japan in 1923. After the Great Kanto earthquake devastated the Tokyo-Yokohama region, fires erupted across the cities. Buildings collapsed, gas lines ruptured, and entire districts ignited simultaneously. In the chaos, tens of thousands of people fled to open areas, hoping to escape the flames. One such refuge was the Rikugun Honjo Hifukusho, a large open military clothing depot where roughly 38,000 people gathered, believing they were safe from fire. But the conditions were perfect for a disaster. The scorching heat rising from the burning city combined with strong winds and atmospheric instability. Suddenly, without warning, the sky darkened and a roaring sound filled the air. A massive fire tornado, over 90 meters high, formed directly above the crowd. Within moments, it spun downward like a fiery drill. Witnesses described the flames moving like a living creature, twisting violently as it swallowed wooden structures, debris, and human lives in seconds. The inferno burned so intensely that many victims were reduced to ash, leaving behind few identifiable remains. Modern scientists still struggle to recreate or fully understand the exact atmospheric conditions necessary for such a colossal fire whirl. Even today, fire tornadoes appear unpredictably during wildfires in California, Australia, and Greece. They often form within seconds, disappear just as quickly, and behave with chaotic motion that makes them nearly impossible to predict or control. Experts believe sudden convergence of hot air rising from fire, cool air rushing downward, and strong horizontal winds creates a vertical rotating column. But the scale of the 1923 tornado remains unmatched, leading some to suspect unknown meteorological factors that have yet to be identified. The 1923 fire tornado is remembered not only as a natural disaster but as a chilling reminder of how small humanity is against the forces of nature. Even a century later, it stands as one of the greatest unsolved atmospheric mysteries, an event too powerful, too destructive, and too extraordinary to be forgotten. Blood snow, Antarctica. In the frozen deserts of Antarctica, where temperatures stay far below zero and the landscape is dominated by endless white, an eerie sight appears every summer, patches of snow turning bright, blood red. Known as watermelon snow for its rosy color and faint sweet smell, this strange phenomenon has puzzled explorers for centuries. Early expeditions described the crimson fields with fear, imagining the snow was soaked in the blood of animals, or even something supernatural. Today, scientists know that the red pigment comes from a resilient type of cold-loving algae called Chlamydomonas nivelis. These microorganisms lie dormant beneath the ice, waiting for the summer sun. When temperatures rise just enough to melt the surface layer, the algae awaken and multiply rapidly. Their red coloration, produced by carotenoid pigments, protects them from ultraviolet radiation and helps absorb warmth. But even with this biological explanation, the phenomenon remains mysterious. For one, scientists still cannot fully explain how these algae survive years of darkness and extreme cold without decaying. Their life cycle, especially how they spread across vast icy regions, is not entirely understood. Some evidence suggests they may travel on wind currents, but no one has traced their exact paths. More concerning is their impact on climate. When snow is pure white, it reflects most of the sunlight. But red snow absorbs more heat, causing faster melting. As climate change accelerates, the algae bloom more intensely, creating a feedback loop that may speed up the loss of Antarctic ice. This means a tiny microorganism, almost invisible individually, may be influencing global sea levels. The color also varies sharply from year to year. Some summers show barely any red patches, while others reveal massive crimson valleys stretching for kilometers. Scientists still cannot predict when or where the blooms will occur, making the phenomenon both scientifically important and intellectually frustrating. There are also deeper mysteries. Why does the bloom appear in certain regions but not others with similar conditions? How do the algal cells remain viable through freezing cycles that should destroy most known life forms? And what triggers sudden population explosions? Blood snow may look harmless, even beautiful, but it represents one of Antarctica's most puzzling biological secrets, and a reminder that life can persist in the most extreme and least understood ways on Earth. The Purple Death Wave, Qinghai Lake, China. Qinghai Lake, located high on the Tibetan Plateau, is one of Asia's most remote and isolated bodies of water. Yet every few years, this tranquil lake undergoes a chilling transformation. Its normally blue surface shifts into a deep, eerie purple. Shortly after the discoloration begins, fish, birds, and other wildlife mysteriously die in large numbers, earning the event the ominous name, the Purple Death Wave. Scientists studying the lake have proposed several theories, but none have been confirmed. One leading hypothesis suggests that the unusual color is caused by a sudden explosion of purple pigmented algae. These organisms, under certain conditions, can release toxins that suffocate fish and poison birds. However, researchers have never successfully predicted when such blooms will occur, nor have they isolated a single species responsible for every event. Another theory blames chemical pollution from remote industrial sites hundreds of miles away. Winds could theoretically sweep contaminated dust into the lake. But the region around Qinghai is sparsely populated, and water analyses have failed to reveal consistent industrial toxins. Some scientists argue that natural mineral deposits beneath the lake may shift or release chemicals under specific temperature and salinity changes, creating a rare chemical reaction that temporarily alters the water's color. Despite these theories, the phenomenon remains unsettlingly inconsistent. Some years, the lake turns purple for only a few hours; other years, it remains discolored for days. Wildlife deaths also vary dramatically in intensity, suggesting multiple factors may be at play. Villagers who live near the lake describe the transformation as a bad omen, believing the water becomes cursed. Some even avoid fishing for months afterward, fearing contamination. Adding to the mystery, satellite images have captured the color shift, yet the cause is never visible from space. There are no clear algal formations, no sediment clouds, and no surface disturbances. The color simply appears, then fades. Even today, no scientific team has fully documented the event from start to finish. Field researchers often arrive too late, after the discoloration has already vanished. Until continuous monitoring is established, the true cause of the Purple Death Wave will remain unresolved, a haunting reminder that even in the age of modern science, nature still holds secrets beyond our reach. The Taos Hum, New Mexico, USA. Deep in the deserts of New Mexico lies the small town of Taos, a peaceful community surrounded by mesas and open sky. Yet beneath its quiet surface, many residents claim to hear something deeply unsettling, a persistent, low-frequency humming sound that no microphone can record. Known as the Taos hum, this mysterious vibration has confused scientists, plagued locals, and become one of the most baffling acoustic anomalies in the world. The hum is not loud. Most describe it as a distant engine idling or the rumble of an approaching storm. It is often more felt than heard, an internal vibration that grows stronger at night. About 2% of the population reports experiencing it, but those who do say it disrupts sleep, causes anxiety, and creates a sense of unease that is difficult to explain. Scientists have explored many possibilities. One theory proposes geological activity, shifting rock layers or underground gas movements, creates the vibrations. But seismic sensors in the region have detected nothing unusual. Others suspect military experiments, since New Mexico is home to several restricted research facilities. Yet no official explanation has ever addressed the frequency or consistency of the hum. Another hypothesis is that the phenomenon may originate inside the human ear, caused by spontaneous otoacoustic emissions. But this theory cannot explain why only residents of Taos experience it, or why two people standing together can have completely different perceptions, with one hearing the hum while the other hears nothing. Attempts to record the hum have failed. Sensitive audio equipment captures only normal ambient noise. The hum appears to exist somewhere between physical sound and subjective perception, a mystery trapped between the external environment and the human mind. Local lore adds another layer. Some indigenous groups describe the hum as the heartbeat of the desert, a spiritual vibration tied to the land itself. Others believe it may be a natural resonance unique to the valley's shape. Despite decades of research, the Taos hum remains unexplained. It is a reminder that even in modern times, with advanced sensors and scientific tools, there are still natural phenomena that slip between the cracks of understanding, heard only by a chosen few.